Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anthony Watherston, and in this video I want to show you what we're doing with EPAC and AI. I've written some agent skills that allow you to talk to Azure Policy and EPAC using natural language to help you find gaps in your current policy deployment and build EPAC objects. It's still experimental, but I've made the repository public. I'd encourage you to download the plugin and give it a go. Okay, so let's get started. On my machine here, I've got the terminal, I've got Copilot CLI installed, so that's just done using, if I go up here, winget install GitHub Copilot. I've got the AZ commands installed, AZ PowerShell, got the enterprise policy as code module, so I'm pretty much ready to go. On the right-hand side of the screen here, I've got the EPAC skills repository, and it's also got instructions on how to actually install the skills as well. So there's 4 inside of here. There's an Azure Policy Audit, there's an Azure Policy Research, an EPAC Policy Objects skill, and then finally an EPAC Build Deployment Plan skill. And they just do exactly what they say they do, right? If I want to deploy things to Azure, deploy my plan or build a plan, I can just tell the agent, can you please build the deployment plan? But I'll show you some examples of what we can do with this in a minute. So if you've never used GitHub Copilot CLI before, it's quite easy to start. So you just launch it from the command line. So we'll go Copilot. And before I do that, I'm actually in an EPAC repository. All right, so there's my definitions folder, and I've got a global settings file inside there as well. And we'll have a look in VS Code when it creates the objects. We'll kind of validate those as well. So to get this started, we just type in Copilot, and it will launch up. Okay, when you first log into this, you need to run a command, a login command. So that just looks like this /login. You'll sign in, connect to GitHub. So you do need a GitHub Copilot license to be able to run this. And then that's basically it. You're in, you're connected, and you're kind of ready to go. The way we install the skills into the current folder is we can just copy the command, which is over here, Copilot plugin install the owner EPAC skills, which is me. So I'll show you. We'll just go plugin install ANWather EPAC skills. Okay, that'll go out to the repo. It reads the package inside of here, and we can see that we've installed 4 skills. Use the /skills list to see them. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just move this over here a little bit. Okay, so we can type in /skills, and it will come up with a list. So you can see there are my 4 skills inside of there. So they're all ready to use. Very, very simple. Because I'm connected through to Azure, it's going to automatically be able to talk to my Endure environment. I've also given it access to the repository. So I've launched this from within the repository folder. So it's got the context inside there. It can see all my files. The only thing left to do is then actually go through and query this. So let's start with something a little bit simple. And I'm just copying these from another file. But what policies do I have deployed to secure a storage account? Okay, so when we go through and we run this, it'll go into its little bit of thinking mode. And what it's doing in the background is it's determining which skill to actually use to be able to answer that question. And it should come up and say that I'm going to use either the Azure Policy Research skill or the Azure Policy Audit skill. So here we go, it's thinking now. It's decided to use the Azure Policy Audit skill. It's come up with a bit of a plan, and I think it's going to prompt me to actually give it permission to do some things. Other than that, what we can do is we can type in, and I may already have it turned on. Okay, so here we go. It's asking me to actually do things. So this is the command it's going to run, and this is all defined inside of those skill files. I'm going to let it run yes. And I'm going to let it add all the directories in there as well. And I'm going to let it do this as well. And when it comes out, I'll type in YOLO mode, and that'll just approve everything inside of there so that I don't have to keep hitting yes. But it quite clearly goes through and lists what it's going to do. So we'll let that think for a little bit. It's going to audit those storage policies. So it's looking for things, and I can see the command. It's looking for things with a storage category, looking for policy definitions. We just have to wait for it to actually come through and return something for us. Okay, so that's gone through and done its work. It took a couple of minutes, so I just paused the recording while it happened. But we can see inside of here, this is what it's actually going to do. All right, doing an audit for storage. It's pulling things out, and it's come back with some results. And it tells me that inside of my environment at the moment, I've actually got some storage account policies assigned, and they've come down from my top level management group. But it's also gone through and put a list of things inside of here that aren't enforced inside of my environment. So things like my minimum TLS version, my blob public access, and this is just for one storage site. So what I can actually do now is I can go through and I can create a policy, and I'll tell it to just go through and create that policy assignment for me. So we'll put this in. Create an assignment for TLS version enforcement. And I might tell it for storage accounts. I think it will work that out anyway. But I'll just tell it. And then it's going to go off into its loop again. And it should pick up and it should start using those skills. So there's the EPAC policy object skill. And what I would expect to see out of this is it's actually going to go through and create that policy assignment file for me. The skill knows what the policy objects should look like. So it knows what a policy set should look like, what a policy definition, what a policy assignment should look like. So it's able to use that knowledge that forms part of the skill to be able to go through and create that assignment. It also knows how PAC environments work. So it's able to pick out the PAC environment. If you had multiples in there, it should ask you for which one you actually want to create it for. And what we should see is an assignment file created that's scoped to the correct management group inside of Azure. We'll just give this for a quick minute to run through. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll open this up in Visual Studio Code as well. Then we'll be able to see the file. Maybe I haven't got VS Code installed. Just go install VS Code. While that's going on in the background installing that, let's see what it's come up with. So it's gone through, it's created this policy assignment for me. That can go into the background. Okay, definitions, policy assignment, storage, TLS. It's giving me a good list of what it actually does inside of that. And it's also asking me, it's now, would I like to run build deployment plans to validate it before deploying? Okay, so I'll tell it, yes, please run a build. And I'll also tell it, but don't build a plan. Yeah, so it understands what that plan is as well. Let's go back to my VS Code. This time it's using the skill EPAC build deployment plan. Okay, it'll have a look at the global settings file and it will work out which environment it's going to go to as well. So it knows how to run those commands in the background for me. The only thing we don't see inside of here is that nice kind of output which EPAC puts in there. That's going on in the background, and the agent is kind of capturing all that output, and what it will spit out at the end is basically a summary of that. Just does that for us, which is really nice. Let's go into here and we'll launch VS Code now. Hopefully this will work. No, we'll do a new window. Launch VS Code. And let's just have a look at the assignment that's created inside of there. Yes. Okay, definitions, policy assignments. Here it is here. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's put in the schema. It's picked up the right policy definition ID. It's put in a display name and a description. It's even generated a non-compliance message for me, and it's actually put a link inside there as well as to where I can find guidance on that. And I guess the most important thing is it's put it to that test pack selector, and it's put it to the right management group as well. So it understands what your global settings file does, what your environment should look like, and most of the time it does a pretty good job at assigning that out to the right places. Let's go back in here. It should be running that build deployment plan. I think it'll be almost finished. Okay, it's going to have a look at the policy plan and grab the details inside of there. So sometimes you'll find that it pulls out things from the plan. Sometimes it'll read the output from the build deployment plans command. Okay, but it's come through and it said we've got one new policy assignment, which we expected. Enforce minimum TLS version for storage accounts. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so it's told me it's ready to deploy it. I could run that and actually deploy the plan myself. Or I could tell the agent, can you please deploy it? And it will go through and it will run deploy policy plan for me as well. Okay, that's a pretty small example of what this can do. Let's try something a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I've got a prompt here, which I tried the other day. And I'll just need to copy this in. Copy, paste. All right, so this time I've told it that my app contains a SQL managed instance, storage account, Azure Functions, and a web app. Build a policy initiative to ensure that the important security settings are enforced when deploying this solution. Okay, so let's go off and run that now. This one's going to take a little bit longer. So what I'll do is I'll pause the recording and then we'll come back and we'll see how it goes. But you can see it's already starting to do the research for it. Okay, and it's trying to find the most important policies that are inside of here, and it will go off and it will build that initiative for you. So when this is finished, we can go through and see what's actually come up with. All right, that's finished doing its thinking, and it's built that initiative for you. But let's take a look at what it actually went through and did. The first thing that it does is it's gone through and clarified exactly what I want to build, and it's said which skills it's going to use to do that for me. So it's going to use this Azure Policy Research skill and then build the initiative. If we come down a little bit lower, it will pull out all the policies, okay, that I need to have inside of there. So there's a few for SQL Managed Instance, some for storage accounts, some for functions, some for web apps, and they look pretty security related, most of these. And then it's going to go through and it's deciding to create a policy set definition file, and then finally a policy assignment file for that initiative. All right. If we come right down to the bottom here, we can see that it's created this initiative for us. Okay, and it's actually got 12, 18, 25 policies in it, right? So for covering managed instance, storage accounts, functions, and web apps, and it tells me it's created those files as well. Okay, it's also, without me actually telling it to, it's set the defaults to audit. Okay, so that we're able to go through and assess compliance first for each of these. And then if I want to later, I can change the assignment to a deny. And if I have a look at the files actually created inside of here, I've got my policy set definition. All right, very nice. And it's parameterized everything in here for me as well. which is just amazing. Like, think how long it would have taken to build this by hand, and this agent has done it in about 3 or 4 minutes. And it's also gone through and it's created that policy assignment for me. It's put all the parameters in there. It's generated all these non-compliance messages which relate back to the policy reference ID. So that's fantastic as well. That would have taken a long time to do. And then it's gone through and scoped it out and deployed it back to my environment. Okay. So what I'll do now is I'll go back into my agent, and I'm just going to go through. I'm going to tell it to run the plan. And if there's no issues found inside of the plan, you can go through and deploy it. So again, thinking, we'll do a bit of a pause and then we'll have a look at what's actually done inside of Azure. Okay, finally the validation. It's gone through, it's run that build deployment plans. It's told me that the build has succeeded with no errors, and it's going to deploy a new policy set. 2 new policy assignments, because remember we didn't deploy our storage one before. No deletions, no role assignments. Okay. I said if there's no issues, you can deploy it. So it's going to go through and deploy. There we go, build succeeded. And it should be off and deployed it inside of Azure. So I should be able to check in my policy. Force minimum TLS version. And enforce security guardrails for the application stack. So that's probably around 10 or 15 minutes of work using the Copilot CLI. It's going to save me a lot of time figuring out what those policies are, and then getting them to deploy. It's really good as well at looking up policy definitions and policy set definitions. So if you say to it, which policies are included as part of, for example, the ISM, for the Australian ISM set definition, it can find all that out for you and recommend deploying those as well. If you've got resources in there that are non-compliant, or you can look up the types of resources that you've got deployed and suggest policies based on what's deployed inside of your environment. Really clever at doing that kind of stuff as well. I think download this and have a bit of a play with it. Tell us what you think. You can leave comments inside of the video. You can raise an issue on the EPAC skills repository. You can also raise an issue on the generic kind of EPAC repository as well. If you've got any feedback or you think they could do something different. The whole thing, all the skills were actually configured and written by Copilot anyway. So it's very easy for us to go through and make some changes to the way that works. And then you can just go through and install that plugin and just run it. So I hope that made sense. I hope it's given you some information and some thought around how we can use AI to enhance the EPAC product. As I said, any feedback is really welcome on this. And in the future, we'll hopefully have some more updates and some more exciting features around managing the Azure Landing Zone deployments, or managing the AMPA policies, or doing the hydration kit with some AI enhancement as well. Thanks for watching.